Alright, let's see if this even works. Good God, it's a furnace in here. Alright, let me get to the edit. This has been forever since I've done anything like this. And honest to God, yeah, if I just turn the gate off, maybe this is better. That gate is so aggressive. Hold up. Yeah, I think it's the range. Yeah, let's let a little bit of that, little bit of the room through. Threshold's so fucking low. Yeah. Let me see there. There's a big ass, fucking. I think our hold time needs to be closer to 32 seconds. There we go. So let's see if I'm even live. I'm not convinced that this is working. Alright, Twitch TV / Zach ZYZ. Oh, that's me? Oh shit. I can see myself loud and clear on this motherfucker. Alright, good. And what about YouTube? Live. Why wonders never cease. I can see my own stream on this guy here. Let me mute myself. And there's me. Oh, my faded glory. Alright, let me see. Quality 1080 penis. It's alright. It's still blurry, to tell you the truth, at 1080p. Alright, let's get down to it. Also, I feel like the gain on this... Yeah, that's probably better. Alright, let's hop to it. So, the first thing I'm going to do is... oh shit, I forgot to, one thing I did forget to do is in Streamlabs. I forgot to set the fucking bot up. Let me see if I can log into this guy with YouTube. Continue. Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you where I'm at, but it's a fucking furnace at the moment there. Let me see. Multi-chat. CloudBot. This is what I got going on. Cache protection. Activating CloudBot. Now, how would I rate Streamlabs poor? This is popping up in the middle of my fucking shit. Mod Streamlabs by going to YouTube Studio. Settings community and having Streamlabs as a moderator. Let me do that very same thing there. And community. Oh, what the hell was that? I don't know what that was. I must have missed it there. Tell that baby to shut the fuck up. Alright. Hey, shut the fuck up, baby. Nah, this is... There are like 10 different families living in this house, so... I think I can win fights with like all of them though. Alright, so I also have 2 different chats happening. Alright, let me turn off the, there's... I'll hide that source. What's going on, Sloth? It's been a long fucking time, man. Am I on the wrong mic? I better not be on the wrong fucking mic. Jesus. Wait. Yeah, I think I'm on the right mic. But, hold on, let me listen to myself. Let's see what's happening here. Before I spam this to everybody in God's gay earth, I should at least hear what it sounds like. Let's see. Connect your encoder, blah, 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 blah. What was I going to do? I was going to go to community, and I was going to close. I was going to moderate some fucking robot so that I could tell people that the money is going to charity here. So, yeah, I think it's in the link of this fucking thing. Hold on, let me take a look. Let's take a look. What do I sound like? I'm guessing real gay. Yeah, it sounds awful, Sloth. What the fuck is that? Because that's not what I'm hearing in my fucking microphone. Let me take a look and see if I have some shit enabled that I don't want to. Oh yeah, this possibly our issue is that we have desktop audio feeding back there. Let me turn that off. Oh yeah. Yeah, and then we got this fucking, yeah, you're 100% right. So we're getting the HDMI off of the camera, off of that thing, and that's what was sounding like straight fucking dog shit. Let's try this one more time. And hopefully I didn't just cut out all fucking audio. God, what would I do without people to test my shit for me? We got this fucking, yeah, you're 100% right. So we're getting the HDMI off of the camera, off of that thing, and that's what was sounding. Hell yeah. Yeah, right, Mike, but it sounds like I'm in a factory. Oh, yeah, yeah. This is much better. Oh, I see fucking Agatha and Evil Dojo and Infecting Peptides. Yeah, I gotta start fucking working out, man. Just being on the run for so long is nothing but eating fast food and drinking and just getting fat as fuck. Not working any kind of way. Hell yeah. All right. So that's a little bit more like it. So boys, let me give you the breakdown here. Fuck, it's like a steam room in here. I did not realize that this I think I'm right on top of a boiler in an old communist fucking something or other. I don't want to deal with any of this shit. Let's see. Yeah, with a flick of my dick, I can make somebody else do this job. Wait, if I can find him. There we go. There's our boy. There we go. Big stockpiles in Bulgaria. Yeah, I'm gonna wait a little bit longer to go crazy on drugs and shit. Not too much longer, but you know, a little bit longer. Yeah, look at this character. I'm sweating fucking bullets here. I did not realize that. All right, so let me give you guys the rundown here on what I'm trying to do. So behind me, you can see Jesus. My life's fucking work, right? Look at all these books that I done put together here. I haven't even sold this one yet. Still trying there. But I've been doing this a long, long time. 20 some odd years. And wait, where's the chat? Where's the alert box? Where aren't those populating? So did I move to Albania? No, I would never move to fucking Albania. Let me see why our alert box is not appearing here. It might be some other shit. Let me go to the dashboard. Community and adding Streamlabs as a moderator. Where's the recent events and shit? Yeah, whatever. Copy. All right, let me update our widget for this fucking thing. Because I should be seeing all kinds of pop-ups there. No. I'll have to figure this out. Oh, Jesus. Why did Sejay get in here? Ugh. Ugh. I haven't even gotten to the fucking thing. Wait, and this thing just, it reloads messages in between this. I gotta work on this shit. It's so chopped up at the moment. But, let me take a look. Subscriptions, but back to the dashboard. Recent events here. I'm gonna have to go back to. All right, Twitch connection has expired. Creative overlays. Yeah, none of this shit actually fucking works. That is supposed to at the moment. So I'm hearing like some dinging and shit like that, but I can't see what the fuck is going on. matters when in the final analysis of there. I could also pump my volume quite a bit. All right, I can probably fucking do that. How about right here? Hell yeah. Oh, Sage is going to Albania. I remember that horse shit. All right. Yeah. So let me take a look here. Properties of this mic. Mic aux. And there we go. Yeah, I'll have to look into it later. So for whatever reason, this is the level that mixer is outputting to Windows at. So it's really good in the mixer. Much better. All right. Yeah, let's fucking do that there. I think I turned it down a little bit because I was too loud, but all right, enough of this fucking floundering around. Let's get to what's going on here. So, a few things with this stream. So as you can see, it's my oeuvre, or how do you say that? Au revoir, or whatever. My life's work there. So I've gotten a lot of things out of writing here. Fucking dames, acclaim, money, wealth. I couldn't keep a straight face. No, but I've gotten a lot of. Was it true that you were too poor to get a passport to visit Numbers? Numbers was so creepy, by the way. Really showed his ass there and lost the fucking Mortal Kombat of. Wait here, let me get the LR fucking output. Get to the home. There we go. Which fucking speakers am I? All right, I'll turn myself down. Yeah, there we go. Then I can talk at a normal volume without it booming in my ears. I just paid for passports for me and 3 others. Oh, wow, the whole fam is going to meet this new Albanian beau, PJ. All right, let me tell you the fucking story. Yeah, here, and not get distracted by the same drama that we do day after day. So I've been writing for a long fucking time, and for the last 2 years, I've been working on this book, Robin the Prodigy. And like, it's done. I've written it, I've edited it a couple of times, and it's ready to go and go off to the editor. But what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing that we always do, which is one more time, we're going to read through this entire book. Everybody is welcome to chime in with their suggestions and chats and shit like that. And at the end of it, hopefully we'll have a much better book. So what I do with these things is I keep track of all the edits that come through, of all the people who contribute. Actually, hold on, let me open up Notepad. And then I expose myself with all the weird Team R2R fucking info files that are in this thing. You see some fucking Pedro file got exposed just because Notepad now keeps all your tabs open, shit like that. Hell yeah. Wait, you're literally moving to Albania? This seems like a maneuver I would pull to shed my previous identity when the warrants started getting like a little too close. So I think she was just tired of people doxing her and swatting her and stuff like that. Martio leaderboard. Okay, so this book is about a young man suffering from acute myeloid leukemia. And because this book is a lot about leukemia and their struggles and shit like that, I don't think it would be right for me to cash in on their story when, you know, Allah willing, I do not now and shall never have leukemia. Alhamdulillah. So, you know, I didn't want to just cash in on their thing. So instead of me just hoovering up all the money for the live stream and spending it on guitar pedals, this time around, anything that you send in to this stream, I will donate to fucking, and hopefully it works. I'm not seeing the bot or whatever. I will donate to the American Leukemia Foundation. No, not the American Leukemia Foundation, the Leukemia Research Foundation, because they're worldwide there. So I went through Charity Advisor and all that other shit, and you can look these guys up. The Leukemia Research Foundation has, I think, the best scores in terms of the money you send them actually gets to do leukemia research. And I wanted to work on something that provided research benefits on the long run, rather than just, I don't see the super chat option. I don't think I have super chats in YouTube, but the bot should fucking scroll from time to time. And I think it's, let me see. Yeah, this account does not have super chats and also gets banned from time to time. Let me take a look at the fucking channel. Because I think in the description of the channel, more made with Restream. Yeah. So there's this fundraiser, Haku app, whatever, and streamlabs.com/ZachZYZ/tip. It looks like the fucking bot is not doing what it's supposed to. Let me see if Nightbot. Oh, I can't fucking log into Nightbot from here. I don't have the credentials and shit like that. It's supposed to be a bot that's scrolling this shit in the stream. Let me just do that right now. So, and I don't even know if this fucking works, to tell you the truth. Let's see. No. All right, so those are the fucking URLs that work for this shit. So Streamlabs, I think, pops up on the stream. And then I get to take all the dough from that one, and I'm going to donate it to the Leukemia Research Foundation. And then there's also Haku app is basically like a front end that charities use. Oh, this is fucking all these fucking blended together here in this shit. Yeah. I just needed to put a space there. Okay, cool. So those should actually work. So Haku app goes to the directly to the charity. My greasy gypsy fingers never get into it. And my goal is before the end of this thing to have $500 go to this thing. And maybe, maybe we'll get $5. Maybe we'll get $50, whatever. Maybe we'll get 5,000. I don't know. But by the end of this, I would like to generate that. This fucking dog. I don't know if you can hear my dog barking in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Big gay donkey wieners.
Okay. So that's $5 that's going to go to this thing. So we're getting like a little bit closer. I think only the ones that you put on that app thing, like directly to the charity, go on that bar. But I'll jimmy it together before this is all said and done. Just sent 5 as a test. Thank you so much, AJ. You're a real one. All right, well, we're going to get down to it. Leukemia Foundation are the Nazi skinheads. I love that fucking cartoon where he's like, you're a fucking skinhead. And the kid's like, no, Dan, I have leukemia. Wait, hold on. I should make that the fucking thumbnail for this thing. Hold on. Let me find this comic. Let's see if I can find this thing. All right, let me see. Hold on. Let me do this off stream. Here we go. Classic. Hell yeah. You're a skinhead, you bitch. No, Dan, it's leukemia. Luke, what? Stop speaking German, you fucking Nazi. Well, I can tell that this one is not going to go into the thing I'm supposed to submit to charity and all that. Yeah. So if we do a good job on this, I actually have some people that will attempt to they'll attempt to spread this far and wide, but we have to actually edit the stream and so forth. So good to hear from you. The real show, the radio show that I do, will air this Friday. So don't feel like you got to cling to this thing if you're not interested in editing and shit like that. I think it's just really logic that gets into this. Now that Stratum is dead and in hell and all the other people are gone. We'll have to see. All right, so long story short, I would like to win one of the two. There are two like Emmys for science fiction writing, and those awards are the Hugo Award and the Nebula Award. And it is my lifelong goal to win one of these awards before I am dead and in hell. Now, as of right now, this is about as likely as fucking Dark Mage pulling a human female, or as me getting drafted by the NBA. But there are a few things on my side. One is that I was doing this long before we had AI or any of that horse shit that people lean on to do all their thinking for them. And all of this shit is yours truly. I wrote all this shit. No fucking machine told me what to write or blah, 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 blah. So there are, as time goes on, if I'm able to drain the essence of the young and continue to exist eternally in this hellish unlife, then I will be one of very few people who has like clocked like the 20 or 30 years to get really decent at writing quality science fiction hack style shit. And the young people can't do that. They don't have the fucking power or the drive or the whatever. Watch me getting fucking mogged by some 19-year-old at the fucking Hugos this year. Anyhow, so I would like to win one of these fucking awards, and I think we potentially have a book good enough here. It's not the best book I've ever written. That's probably this guy. Lemon, maybe. And The Electric Lady, which definitely read if you have not read it. Holler at me privately to get a link. It's not out. Nobody can buy it. But I will let you read it there. Only unlikely because my teeth are busted right now, but I will fix that. Believe in the impossible and it becomes real. Well, how true that is. So that same Quixote is driving me forward because I believe that I can win this fucking award, and I need your help to do it. So we're going to go through and read every page of this book. I'm going to have to stream this for like 3 or 4 hours a day for like 60 days straight to get through this. There are 60 some odd chapters of this book, and generally we clock like a chapter a day. It's a little faster earlier on, but here's how we do this. I'm going to read the entire book. We're going to be listening for anything that seems bullshit, like anything that it just doesn't sound right. It sounds like somebody wrote it, not like something somebody would say or think or what have you. And slowly, we're going to crack this fucking nut. Take this book that is maybe like an 8 out of 10 right now, and we want to get it to like a 8.5 to 9.5. The donos to Haku are not refreshing on the bar. Let me take a look. Let's see. I may be able to refresh cache of current page. But what? What? Holy shit, Sloth. Holy shit. Wow, we've already like come so close to our fucking goal right there. God damn. Hell yeah. So I wonder if I can set a timer to refresh that every so often. But yeah, I'm gonna make this fucking happen. So if you believe, as I believe, that the combined might of IRC can come together and win this prestigious award and bootstrap me out of virtual poverty and buy my mom a house. Those are all the things that I want to do. Sick of her living in a fucking rundown caravan. Then join me on this journey. We'll make it happen. So that's all. All right, everybody who doesn't actually like editing, you can clear out if you'd like to. Thank you so much, Sloth. And I'm a Scout's honor. I am not stealing this fucking money. It will go to the charity right there. Sloth, you should get a receipt or something. I think you can write that thing off on your taxes, so you don't have to pay jack shit at the end of the day. So let's get in on it. All right, this one's for you, Dark Meiju-san. What am I drinking? Oi Ocha Ito-en. I want to help review the science parts. So here are the parts that I actually need help with here. And like if you have friends, so Seiji actually has hooked me up with a friend of hers who speaks native Spanish, who may have the time to like look through this book. A bunch of this book is in Spanish. This book takes place in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the titular character is Robin Martillo. And he speaks perfect fucking English, but for some reason this little asshole is always talking in Spanish. So I do not speak good Spanish. There's a good chance that a lot of the Spanish that I put into this thing is bullshit. So I may need your help to unbullshit the Spanish if you speak Spanish. The other part, this takes place in 1979. This is a very particular year. Albuquerque, 1979. I was all of about fucking 6 years old in 1979. So I don't remember much of it. I think the Challenger exploded all over my face. But yeah, I don't remember much about 1979. If you do, and some of this is anachronistic, let me know. Yeah, this is the, what is it? This is the console of a 1961 Ford Falcon here. The Falcon was a station wagon. But yeah, like so, Sloth, this skews more into fantasy than science shit also, and you'll soon see why. All right, enough ado about this whole thing. Thank you everybody for joining in this. And I'm going to cut it off and we'll just start here. So this is day 1 of Robin the Prodigy, a live editing scene. Just if it sounds like a gringo said it, Sloth, just let me know. But yeah, I don't know Spanish well enough to be doing this anyhow. But we'll see how well I did. I did rely on AI like super heavy for like the Spanish translation. I had to do a ton of research on this. Research on fucking leukemia and the 70s and all kinds of like different parts of Mexico just to get this shit straight. So hopefully it works out. All right, so let's start here. Robin the Prodigy, Chapter 1. I feel like I'm dying. Don't say that. I'm sorry, Tita. Don't be sorry, Una said, sharper than she meant. All right, so to break this down here for you gringos, Tita is basically just, is like saying Nana or something like that, or Meemaw, or whatever you hillbillies call grandma. Tita is a diminutive for grandmother. So let's back to it. Robin Martillo hung his head. A lock of brown hair fell into his eyes. He clutched a turquoise basin, shaped like a kidney bean. She hoped he wouldn't need it, this time. He needs a haircut, Una thought. Robin began to cough. He did need the basin. So what, I don't know if it's clear here, but what we're talking about is an emesis basin. So back in the 70s, they used to give you like this kidney bean shaped dish for you to yarl into. And that's what we're talking about with this thing. I also love big Titas. Hell yeah. All right, let's get to it. Robin began to cough. He did need the basin. Maybe not, Una decided. A haircut was $2 after all. It was an ugly thought. Robin began to cry afterward. Guilt hit her hard. Let's go back inside and get you cleaned up. There's some on your shirt. Do you need my help? I can do it, Robin said. She waited outside the boys' room, and when he came out, the basin was clean. She eyed the fabric. That was his church shirt. Robin had done a good job scrubbing it off. It wouldn't stain. I wonder if this should go... No, we don't... So I didn't want to... I know why. So here we have Robin had done a good job scrubbing it off, meaning the shirt. All right, yeah, it all falls there. I thought like a little bit like it might be some confusion whether she's scrubbing off like fucking the vomit or the shirt or whatever, but I think it all tracks. It wouldn't stain. Are you ready to go home? We can wait until you settle. I'm okay. Do you want to walk over? I can pull around. He needed the basin again. Better here than in the car, Una thought. Her bad hip creaked and her bad hip creaked and complained. She was too worried to pay it any mind. It was the second treatment. At the first one, he'd only thrown up once. All right, so already I see kind of like a fucking problem. So I think the way the story is written, I'm going to take a little note here. So we say it's the second treatment here, but I think later, as I wrote this book, chapter 1, so this needs to be written so actually at this point in the, I can't believe like chapter 1 I'm already finding like a big continuity problem. So I wrote this story and then I did all the research on how leukemia works and so forth. So if he was receiving like chemotherapy treatment or whatever for the disease that he has here, which is acute lymphoid leukemia, they would not let him out of the hospital here. So I think this needs to be rewritten so that here, we can just cut this out here. let's just cut it out here. All right, cool. So if I don't say which treatment it is, because what really needs to be happening here in terms of like this kid's treatment is that he needs to be in remission, and this is one of like many checkups they're doing there. Heartbreaking work of swaggering genius already. Awesome. Yeah, man. Like we'll get into this shit here. A dog burning work of staggering cowardice by JGR. Let's see. Better here than in the car. All right. He needed the basin again. Her bad hip creaked and complained. She was too worried to pay it any mind. The pale blue station wagon baked in the Albuquerque noon. The clear coat on the hood was cloudy and cracked. Though the engine was warm, it still took 3 tries to turn over. Una frowned at the fuel gauge, almost empty. She could still remember the day she drove it off the lot, full of new car smell and spotless. It was 1961. What a weekend that was. First place at a golf tournament in Vegas while her husband Hector cleaned up at slots. Oh, I don't like this sentence here. Let's take out her husband here. First place at a golf tournament in Vegas while Hector cleaned up at slots. They'd always wanted her to have her own car, but it had never been practical. It was such a rush to walk into the dealership with her winnings in her purse. She let them do their song and dance about financing. Yeah. So here we need to be in she'd let them do their song and dance. Okay. Let's try a look at this again. What a weekend that was. So we're flashing back here already, and I think that this was something that was added into the rewrite because the Una character was just like too thin. Yeah, she was not like a big fat Tita. She was a skinny, dried up Tita. And like one of the things that we'll do with this edit too, trying to make Una Martillo, the grandmother who's taking care of Robin, be more of a character, be more of somebody that you give a shit about over the course of the story. Because she doesn't die during the story. Like, you're stuck with her. So she has to be an entertaining character. What a weekend that was. First place at a golf tournament in Vegas while Hector cleaned up at slots. They'd always wanted her to have her own car, but it had never been practical. It was such a rush to walk into the dealership with her winnings in her purse. She'd let them do their song and dance about financing and watch their faces. Yeah. All right, this is something where like the actual editor will have to fix this because I think this is a mess of things that had happened and what is that, like past? Is it pluperfect where you do something that had happened? Anyhow, let's try one more time. What a weekend that was. First place at a golf tournament in Vegas while Hector cleaned up at slots. They'd always wanted her to have her own car, but it had never been practical. It was such a rush to walk into the dealership with her winnings in her purse. She'd let them do their song and dance about financing. Then, she'd pulled out a wad of cash and watched their faces drop. The manager tried to crawl back on the price, but she wouldn't budge. Tomalo o dejalo. Take it or leave it. So, when we do the Spanish here, all my accents are terrible. Tómalo o déjalo. I have no idea how to say that. Is it déjalo or dialo? Dialo. I just need a Spanish person to, in real time, call me a fucking idiot the entire time that we're doing this. So it's a way of saying take it or leave it. And see where we've got this parenthetical translation this whole time. I don't think that makes it into the final book. I think the editor will do it in a different way. But I like this inline translation. Let me know how you feel about it as we're listening to. Because it's not, you don't commonly do that. Normally people will just footnote this kind of shit, or they'll just do it on a separate line in italics or something. So let me know how much it bothers you as we go on through this whole thing. All right. When Una bought the Falcon, JFK was in the White House and Yuri Gagarin was in space. Hector was about to retire after 20 years in the Army. Their daughter Lucinda was out in Los Angeles, trying to be an actress. All was well. Their only real controversy was whether they ought to retire in Zacatecas or California. Hector was set on San Diego, but Una thought she could win him over if she took it slow. All right, good. 18 years later, Hector was gone, and Una was still in Albuquerque. She lived in the same tiny pink house in Los Grigos. None of them got what they wanted. Lucinda managed a few minor roles, but nothing more. She left Hollywood with a baby and a habit. She could never hold a job or stay clean for very long. Robin landed on Una's doorstep many times in the years that followed. The longest stretch was 2 years, while Lucinda served a sentence at the narcotic farm in Lexington, Kentucky. So this is real. This is where they used to send fucking junkies back in the day. And they had like a few specialized prisons. This was before they had like drug court or any of that cool shit like that. Before they had Narcan or anything. And where there was no fentanyl, and it was all just sweet black tar fucking Afghan heroin financed by the CIA. How sweet it was. Getting nostalgic here. This is a Billy Burroughs type shit. Una tried so hard to raise the boy right, to make amends for all her mistakes. Una tried so hard to raise the boy right and make amends for all her mistakes with Lucinda. Time and time again, all that work would be undone as Lucinda bounced between boyfriends and in and out of court. That was over now. Why is this... Oh, the fucking robot thinks... Yeah, it's wrong. I love seeing when the fucking AI is wrong. Lucinda overdosed on New Year's Day. Robin was here to stay. There was no one else left. It was the spring of 1979. Carter was flailing. Gas was creeping towards $1 a gallon, and Skylab was about to fall. They hoped into the ocean. All right, so this is way back in the day. Must be the Apple spell check. I'm not on Apple here. This is Google fucking Word. Like, this is right in Google Docs. I don't know why I fucking ported this into Docs here. But you're right. Normally I write everything in pages. It was the spring of 1979. Carter was flailing. Gas was creeping towards $1 a gallon, and Skylab was about to fall. Into the ocean, they hoped. The Falcon was hanging on, somehow. On that bright day in 1961, Una could have never expected it was the last car she would ever buy. De voluntad de Dios. How would you say it? Voluntad? Wait, can I make the robot fucking pronounce this? Here. Speak it aloud. Alright. I need the cripple reader to make that happen. But yeah, Le voluntad de Dios. God's will. Now the Falcon started when it wanted to. The Bahama blue paint, actually a color that you could get the 1961 Falcon in. I researched. The Bahama blue paint had faded to pale sky. The headliner fabric drooped in a big bubble in the middle of the roof. Once she caught Robin poking at it and slapped him hard. He didn't cry. He stared back at her, furious. He was such a willful child before the sickness. All right, so how many people here can remember riding in a car, um, where like the headliner fabric drooped. Does that even make sense what I'm talking about there? Because I felt like every car I ever owned when I was a kid or rode in just had like a big fucking bubble drooping down on your head, like a ragtop Seville or whatever. It was monkey green. Let me see. So the M dash there is an aside. What the work that it's doing in the sentence is Skylab's about to fall, and just as like an aside, they hope it's into the ocean because they didn't know that that was back in the day. Yeah, yeah. Like I just remember that like crazy. That doesn't happen to cars anymore. They figured out the fucking glue. There was a synthesizer called the Roland. I think it was like the JP800 or whatever, where they used this red glue in it that worked fine until it got to be like 88 degrees or 1488 degrees in your studio, and then the red glue melted all over the synthesizer. There are restoration guys that just all they do is like clean that red glue out of Jupiter 800s all day long. But I digress. Yeah, you're right though. Sloth is kind of like fucking clunky. Hold on, I'm gonna give the first point to Sloth here because I don't like this. This is like a kludge. All right, so Sloth, you have 1 point there. But yeah, it's a really kind of a fucking kludge there. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's try this again. Doesn't that need to be twice the width, the M dash? It needs to be the width of an M. So Slaw says if you want to use an M dash, use it with spaces, IMO. You don't do that in, I think this is MLA that I'm writing in because I don't like the fucking Chicago Mano. But yeah, you don't do that. You don't add a space for M dashes. Then it becomes a hyphen. The hyphenated word reads like it's one thing. Yeah, so we just take it out because it looks like dog shit there, but there will be many more M dashes. So an M dash, generally, you just have, like on OSX, you just tap the dash like 3 times. Yeah, and then you can see 1, 2, 3 dots there. And a double tap is the, just an N dash, like the letter N for your favorite word. Fucking Agatha. uh, but no, yeah, like, so let's read through it again. It was the spring of 1979. Carter was flailing, gas was creeping towards $1 a gallon, and Skylab was about to fall out of the sky. NASA hoped it would splash down in the ocean. And it did splash down in the ocean. Just spoiler alert. But big pieces of it fell on Australia and flattened a bunch of utes. Hell yeah. Take that, you fucking drongos. And Skylab was about to fall out of the sky and hopefully splash down on the ocean. Carter was flailing and gas was creeping towards $1 a gallon. Skylab was about to fall out of the sky and hopefully splash down in the ocean. All right, let's just, how about just Skylab was about to fall out of the sky before we spend like a week on this there. Carter was flailing and gas was creeping towards $1 a gallon. Skylab was about to fall out of the sky. The Falcon was hanging on, somehow. On that bright day in 1961, Una could have never expected it was the last car she would ever buy. God's will. Now the Falcon started when it wanted to. The Bahama blue paint had faded to pale sky. The headliner fabric drooped in a big bubble at the middle of the roof. Once she caught Robin poking at it, and she slapped him. Hard. I want that comma there. I know that the fucking editor took it out when I did that, but I want that comma there. And she slapped him. Hard. He didn't cry. He didn't cry. So, yeah, the double he here sounds a little weird. He didn't cry. There we go. He didn't cry. Robin stared back at her, furious. He was such a willful child before the sickness. Her eyes found Jesus on the dashboard, with Mary beside him on her abalone throne. I love that song, by the way. Shout out to Cool Hand Luke. Why? Hard slap. Hell yeah. Ah, damn. Her eyes found Jesus on the dashboard, with Mary beside him on her abalone throne. Why? Una asked him, not for the first time. The Savior had nothing to say. It's going to be like this all edit, man. It's like so crazy late for me, too. And they're just at it all night long. Where was I? The Savior had nothing to say. The pink plastic had faded in the sun. The figurine's back was white as bone. Una put both hands on the steering wheel and took deep breaths. She had to be stronger. Robin seemed a little better when she pulled the Falcon around. She eyed his skirt. His skirt. Oh, this is before that was okay. She eyed the shirt again, but it was fine. Una made a mental note. No more church clothes at treatment after this. She drove homeward, toward Los Grigos. Before abalone were exterminated from the ocean? Did that actually happen? I think they still exist. Maybe they're endangered now. Hold on, I want to look that up. Yes, many abalone species are endangered. Several classified as critically endangered, particularly along the U.S. West Coast. Wow. All 7 abalone species native to the U.S. West Coast, red, white, black, green, pink, flat, and northern pinto abalone, are critically endangered or endangered. What fucked them up? Overfishing, habitat loss, disease. Black abalone populations have been devastated by bacterial infections such as withering syndrome and HIV, low reproduction rates, their broadcast spawners, and climate change. Huh. Who knew? That was interesting. All right. Let me see. Did I say Xavier? No, I don't think I said Xavier. I think I said Savior, not Xavier. It could also be weird for someone from New Mexico to have an abalone shell. So back in the day, sloth. This is a nod to this song. It's like, I forget who the original singers of the song, but in Cool Hand Luke, fucking Paul Newman sings a song after his mother dies. And I don't care if it rains or freezes, as long as I got my plastic Jesus sitting on the dashboard of my car. Comes in colors pink and pleasant, glows in the dark 'cause it's iridescent. Take it with you when you go far. Get yourself a Virgin Mary dressed in rhinestones, sitting on a pedestal of abalone shell. I forget the rest of the song there, but yeah. So in California in the early 80s, everybody had abalone shells in their gardens and shit. I think it was significantly beforehand, because Cool Hand Luke came out. Let me find I actually want to know the origin of the song in Cool Hand Luke. So, Plastic Jesus, what's the story? What song did he sing? He learned to play the banjo for the scene. Real song that had been around for a decade before Cool Hand Luke was made. Ed Rush and George Cromartie wrote the song in 1957 while they were high school students in Fresno, California. As kids in Rio Del, they listened to the radio. As kids in Del Rio, Texas, Rush and Cromartie listened to the radio and heard a Mexican border station playing a religious program that sold a wide variety of religious items to make money. One of the items was a glow-in-the-dark plastic Jesus with a suction cup the driver could stick on a car's dashboard. They giggled about a song about the bosom of the Lord. From there, they created the song Plastic Jesus. You can buy a sweet Madonna dressed in rhinestones sitting on a pedestal of abalone shell. Going 90, I'm not wary, 'cause I've got my Virgin Mary guaranteeing that I won't go to hell. All right, there we go. Just like that. So that's the critical part of the thing that it. Olivia James 4 says, unfortunately, my headphones broke today because of my naughty cat, so I can't hear your voice. It would be great if you could respond through chat instead. We'll respond to what? There's no prompt there. But also, you can improvise. Just solder that fucker back together. You'll be good to go. Let me see. This has got to be some kind of weird scam there. I don't recall any other thing happening there. At ZachZYZ. Hold on, let me just type in WAT at this character. Oh, I gotta go to restream. This has got to be some kind of fucked up chatbot type situation here. All right, let's try it. I guarantee this is some Hindu trying to pull one over on old, let me see, which one of Hugo. I think this is some kind of spam because it doesn't show up on the, I think I only see the YouTube chat, to tell you the truth. Let's see. Yeah, this has got to be a scam. All right, let's get back to... Unfortunately, my headphones broke today because of my naughty cat. Yeah, why would somebody ever say a thing like that? It's a scam. All right, let's get back to it. I like one of my favorite parts of the stream, though, is when I start wondering about some shit and we research about it. That's my favorite part. Let's see. Do you play League of Legends? Yes, as Teemo. But I haven't played since like 6 years ago. Thanks for reply. Yeah, I miss that shit. It was a good game to troll in back in the day, but is no longer. Let's get back to it. Robin seems a little better when she pulled the falcon around. She eyed his shirt again, but it was fine. We don't need the again. She eyed his shirt, but it was fine. Una made a mental note. No more church clothes at treatment after this. She drove homeward toward Los Grigos. The boy stared out the window, too silent. It bothered her. His fire was out. Una began to calculate. Huh, sounds like a weird fucking thing to write. Una began to calculate. Una calculated. The Falcon's tires were almost bald, but they could probably coast another month. She turned off Lomas Boulevard. It's a real boulevard in Albuquerque, by the way. She turned off Lomas Boulevard into a strip mall. There was a parking space open right in front of the big pink 31 sign. She pulled up and smiled. ¿Quieres un helado? Would you like an ice cream? Oh, wait, that sounds awful. ¿Quieres un helado? Would you like an ice cream? Robin shook his head, miserable. I can't, Tita. It was so hard to keep the worry from her face. He doesn't even want ice cream. How had it gotten so bad so fast? I'll bring you back later, when you feel better, Una promised. Okay, Robin said. Una prayed for strength and glanced towards the figurines on the dashboard. Past Jesus and Mary, she saw a sign. The store beside the ice cream shop was fresh painted purple. Over the door, a yellow scroll was painted with chess pieces on either side. Between the king and queen, the scroll read, Duke Games. So, for those not familiar with Albuquerque, they call it Duke City for some reason. It's the land of enchantment. That city has like a million different names. So, Lord only knows what they're doing there. Do you know how to play chess? Una asked. Robin shook his head. She wasn't surprised. Robin was a wild boy, impossible to keep indoors. All he ever cared about was football and riding bikes with his hooligan friends. A game might give him something to think about besides feeling sorry for himself. But there was no chessboard in the house. Hector used to have a beautiful carved ivory set he'd brought back from Japan. He'd left it to Father Jonas in his will, with Una's blessing. The two had played... Yeah, it just, that two had played for years thing doesn't track right. She wasn't surprised. Robin was a wild boy, impossible to keep indoors. All he ever cared about was football and riding bikes with his hooligan friends. A game might give him something to think about besides feeling sorry for himself. But there was no chessboard in the house. Hector used to have a beautiful carved ivory set he'd brought back from Japan. He'd left it to Father Jonas in his will, with Una's blessing. Better with the priest than gathering dust in her cupboard. Robin had perked up. His eyes roamed over the displays of model trains and toy soldiers in the window. They all looked expensive. Let's go take a look, Una said, against her better judgment. All right, that is it for Chapter 1. So Chapter 1, we are clocking just a scant view word count. So that's just 1,000 words. I like to have a short first chapter, if I possibly can. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, the babies. Okay. So this next part is probably going to get cut out of the book. It is a point count of the game that he witnesses in there. So I'm not going to read this whole thing off. But what do we have? Battle report. Week 3. Doom befell Dagbellow Dell. The Bright Shield Brigade, 2,000 points, played by Duncan Schweizer. And then it's got his general, his hero, Burback Breakbow, another hero, Hilg Stone's Throw. These are actually in the game. And then his opponent is the Bad Moon Soon Blaclaw Outriders, 2,000 points, played by Vlad Rosanov. And let me see. I don't think any of these characters make a recurrence. So this is where you get into the real meat of this cocksucker here, which is, I guess let's read through the chapter and then I'll get into the structure of the novel there. Many people will have already guessed, or I've already told you, or whatever. But yeah, man. But so this is the structure of the thing. The work is patterned after. Well, let me get into it a little later. Let's go through this chapter here, so we have some suspension of belief. So we swap from the point of view of Una Martillo, grandmother, into this fucking fantasy section right here, and hopefully I can pull this off. Very difficult to make this structure work, by the way. Burback Breakbow stood over the ruins of Dagbellow Dell and wept before his men. Why do we have before his men? He's not a man. He's a dwarf. Burback Breakbow stood over the ruins of Dagbellow Dell and wept. Shameful tears ran down his scarred face and soaked into his blood-caked beard. he did not weep alone. The surviving berserkers lined the ridge, unable to face each other. Dagbello was gone. The gate was smashed, the stockade was overrun, and the thatched roof, well, blazed like kindling. There we go. Hell yeah. By the way, I've seen them streaming or spamming that same stream promotion bullshit up there. They've been spamming that for years and years. Like at least 5 years that they've been trying to get me to click on that thing with their spam bots. I never have. I never will. I don't give a fuck. All right. The gate was smashed, the stockade was overrun, and black smoke roared from the thatched roofs. The fields of golden barley that ringed the town were all aflame. The attack began just after harvest. Wolf riders came first, hurling torches. As the farmers tried in vain to contain the fires, a horde of spearmen arrived, backed by archers. Now, pillars of black smoke... Ah, this is why. I already fucking used black smoke. Yeah, let's just take out the word black. There we go. The attack began just after harvest. Wolf Riders came first. So Wolf Riders is capitalized here. Throughout the course of the game, all the units in this game are capitalized. As are like the character names and the items and stuff like that. This is written very much in the style of like an old wargaming magazine. And it's purposefully meant to be a little ham-fisted, but not so ham-fisted that you like roll your eyes. Because magazines back in the day were very fucking ham-fisted. I don't want to capture a little of that nostalgia. Now, pillars of smoke rose from blazing sheaves. Here, as the farmers tried in vain to contain the fires, a horde of spearmen arrived, backed by archers. Now, pillars of smoke rose from blazing sheaves. Long lines of smoldering stalks were broken by the bodies of fallen warriors. The defenders' losses were tremendous. 2 shield-bearer phalanxes were overrun and slaughtered. The ballista was shattered. What about adding something to help with the visualization of him being a dwarf? Does that come later? Yes. Yeah, we'll get into his whole thing a little later. And if I do keep the intro like point count and so forth, which is almost getting into like lit RPG territory, you'll just see on the page that says that they're fucking dwarves there. But we get into it extensively. Yeah, maybe you do need something about who the character is. Let's see if we get into it after we get through the description here, because I might say something. The ballista was shattered. The general and his retinue were gone, mobbed down by goblins and carried away to an unspeakable fate. General should be capital. Ballista should be capital. Casualties were inevitable. War was war. It was the barley that made Burback weep. It was one thing to raid for riches or to vie for territory. To burn good barley was an act of madness. The Gobos only had to wait 2 days, and their raid could have plundered the entire crop and doomed the town. Yeah, it is weird to use overrun twice. Where is the other overrun? Wait, do we have 2 instances of overrun? Where's the previous one? Oh yeah, we do use it over. Yeah, cool. So let's have them. So Agatha, you get a point there. Yeah, I'm always looking for double usage of uncommon words. Agatha 1. Wait, do we have 2 smashes now? The gate was smashed, the stockade was overrun, and black smoke roared from the thatched roofs. The fields of golden barley that ring the town were all aflame. The attack began just after harvest. Wolf riders came first, hurling torches. As the farmers tried in vain to contain the fires, a horde of spearmen arrived, backed by archers. Now pillars of smoke rose from blazing sheaves. Long lines of smoldering stocks were broken by the bodies of fallen warriors. The defenders' losses were tremendous. 2 shield-bearer phalanxes were broken and slaughtered. The ballista was shattered. The general and his retinue were The general and his retinue were yeah, I think it's retinue. That's how you say that. And his retinue were gone, mobbed down by goblins and carried away to an unspeakable fate. By the way, the unspeakable fate? It's rape. Casualties were inevitable. War was war. Here's War was war. Casualties were inevitable. It was the barley that made Burback weep. It was one thing to raid for riches or to vie for territory. To burn good barley was an act of madness. I don't like the sentence here. The Gabos only had to wait 2 days, and their raid could have plundered the entire crop and doomed the town. The Gabos could have plundered the entire crop. There was no need to attack the stockade or massacre the farmers. When winter came, all of Dagbella would have starved. Yeah, I like this a little bit better. Dwarf enough to rape. God damn, Slaw. I just want to shout out to the Soft Cell Sex Dwarf, which came on the radio for me not too long ago. Good song. All right. Hold on, let me make sure that none of the people I'm supposed to be surveilling are currently on fire. No, they are not. Hell yeah. There was no need to attack the stockade or massacre the farmers. When winter came, all of Dagbella would have starved. Instead, the goblins spent thousands to overcome the little stronghold. They came in screaming waves. 10 times the invaders were repulsed. On the 11th wave, the arrows and oil ran out. The defenders fought tooth and nail to no avail. Dagbellow's stockade was swallowed by a sea of green faces and sharp yellow teeth. To his credit, Gorthar Herdekin sounds like turducken. To his credit, Gorthar Herdekin did not flee when the goblins broke through. He fought on as his bodyguards fell one by one. Surrounded, he took a stand, desperate to buy more time for the Imperial reinforcements to arrive. Wow, holy shit. Why did I add all this? Yeah. Maybe you should cut this whole fucking section here. Yeah, because people want to hear about this dwarf. Not about this bullshit. Alright, well, let's think about it later. To his credit, Gorthar Herdekin did not flee when the goblins broke through. He fought on as his bodyguards fell one by one. Surrounded, he took a stand, desperate to buy more time for the Imperial reinforcements to arrive. Weeks before, Gorthar met with Brendan the Emissary, mouthpiece of the Emperor. Brendan had assured him the reports of a horde in the west were nonsense. Even if they were true, they could never break through Saber Pass. The high Haliak fortress was unassailable. Then, even if the unthinkable were to occur, the Empire had substantial reserves to protect the critical farm. Oh, yeah, fuck all this. Yeah. Hmm. So this high Haliak thing, I can move it later in the story. Okay. Yeah, this is me like trying to foreshadow way too much shit on chapter 2 to fit into this. Maybe more of this should be cut, honestly. Let's try this one more time. To his credit, Gorthar Hurricane did not flee when the goblins broke through. He fought on as his bodyguards fell one by one. Surrounded, he took a stand, desperate to buy more time for the Imperial reinforcements to arrive. Imperial should be capitalized. It's a faction. Weeks before, Gorthar met with Brendan the Emissary, mouthpiece of the Emperor. Brendan had assured him the reports of a horde in the west were nonsense. Even if they were true, the goblins could never break through Saber Pass. The high Haliak fortress was unassailable. Brendan swore the dwarves had nothing to fear. The Emperor would preserve them. It was all lies. The Black Hawk horde cracked the high Haliak like a quail's egg. Greenskins poured over the border and razed everything in their path. The promised reserves were nowhere to be seen. Later, Burback would learn they'd been deployed to quell a rebellion 100 leagues east. Burback and Hilg. Yeah. Let's cut all this. It's doing no work. It was all lies. The Black Hawk horde cracked the high Haliak like a quail's egg. Greenskins poured over the border and razed everything in their path. Burback and Hilg. Burback Breakbro and Hilg Stone's Throw had arrived just in time to watch spears pierce Lord Gorthar's sides and filthy feet stomp his brilliant cloak into the muck. A chattering mob of goblins hoisted Gorthar's limp body above their heads. They laughed and carried him off, cackling as they withdrew. There was nothing left to loot. Burback and Hilg were left in the ashes, too late to save anyone. Gorthar should have known better. The words of men were sandstone that broke at the slightest stress and went where the wind blew. Yeah, that's... The words of men were rootless sandstone. Dagbella was built upon the Emperor's empty promises of refuge for the outcasts of Shining Peak. Every dwarf who settled here was a fool. Taking out words. Breakbow turned to his men and held up his thick hands. Breakbow turned to his warriors and held up his thick hands. He was gory to his armpits. His armor glistened with sticky green goblin blood. One by one, the others lifted their hands. A few raised stumps. Each berserker should be capitalized, was painted in death from head to toe. None could recall what they've done with the black wrath upon them. Burback didn't know if he'd killed 10 or 100. It wasn't enough. With every battle, the brothers dwindled.
There were always more goblins. Renegade, Duendan, with me. The rest of you see to your wounds. See if there are any survivors in the ashes, Breakbow commanded. Breakbow's blood brothers hastened to his side at once. Renegade was red-eyed. Duendan looked as if he'd swallowed a stone. The three dwarves picked their way across the battlefield. Dwarves' capital. Corpses festered in the sun, and flies swirled in great stinging swarms. They saw no survivors. At the eastern edge of the stockade, they found the bunker. Tangles of goblin bodies surrounded the entrance in diminishing rings, where the defenders broke, fell back, and reformed. Here they'd made their last stand. With a sinking feeling, the berserkers climbed over the wall of dead. All right. Good there. The heavy lid of iron-banded oak was chopped apart. Down the spiral stair, all was dark. Goblins had snuffed the ever-burning lights. No sound came up from the pit. There would be nightmares inside. Draw straws, Duendan suggested. Guard here, brothers. I will go, said Barack Breakbow. Originally, this character was written as Barack Obama. No, it's his name was Barack Breakbow, but I changed it to Burback. So anywhere you see his name as Barack, it's because I forgot to change it back. Guard here, brothers. I will go, said Burback Breakbow. The sergeants turned away, stung. He hadn't meant to shame them. Duendan and Renegade's forebears had left the mountain long, long ago. Neither could see well in the dark. Burback could. He laid down his bloody battle-axe and drew his wicked daggers. Heedless of stealth, he flew down the spiral stair, hoping for foes. His eyes shifted into the bleach grays of undersight that pulsed with every beat of his heart. There might be 1,000 goblins below, stymied by the final door. He would butcher them all. At the bottom, the stench of death blew from the death trap. Well, what the fuck? That's some cornbowed shit. Death trap. Yeah. I mean, stench of death blew from the death trap. What the fuck? Yeah, I want to win an award for this, guys. It's so shitty. At the bottom, the stench of death blew from the trap. A false path to the right had claimed many goblins. At the bottom, a stench of death blew from a trap passage. A false path to the right had claimed many goblins. Alas, they'd found the hidden way and broken through. Burback stalked forward in the low tunnel, ready for an ambush. Foulness wafted from the second death trap. A dozen goblins... what do we call? Yeah, I think... There we go. The stench of open bowels wafted from the second death trap. A dozen goblins were skewered at the bottom of the pit. Burback cheated along the edge. 50 paces ahead, it looked like the tunnel had collapsed. The odor of freshly scythed hay tickled his nose. Oh no. With a rag over his mouth. Yeah. Burback moved as close as he could bear. What looked like rubble was only dead goblins. Their yellow eyes were bugged wide. In their frenzy to get away, they'd trampled each other. Burback climbed up to look past. A great mound of goblins was piled before the smashed, hold-fast door. His eyes stung. He could go no further. There was no need. He knew what happened now. It's what had happened now. I think it's past imperfect or something like that. The stench of death blew a tranny. Well, you gotta get that fixed at fucking your mechanic, buddy. Let me see there. There was no need. He knew what had happened now. When the goblins broke through, the women broke the seals and spilled the vials. The women and children were all dead. Second death trap? Yeah. Still reads kind of weird. Let's take a look at it. The stench of open bowels wafted. Yeah. Let's try this way. It doesn't got the stench of open bowels. Yeah, because there's a specific fucking smell when you like stab somebody in their gut. The reek of open bowel wafted from. No, I don't like open bowel. I'm trying to say the like some kind of viscera or something like that. There we go. I'm gonna give you a point for this one. Sloth. Always want to see where something looks fucking. Yeah, how many books do you have fucking edits in here, Sloth? Hold on. I think if we go in Zeros, I bet we got. How many points did you get in Zeros? Nothing on Zeros. Holy shit. Let's see. Maybe you got some in Gravid or something. Hold on. Did you get some in Gravid? I think you might have been around for that one. No, we didn't use points in Gravid, so you weren't in this one. Hold on. Voided bowels. Yeah. So we're just fucking trying too hard is our problem here. Let me see. Yeah, so Sloth, you got one edit on this book way back in the day. All right, let's try this one more time. Yeah, edit streams were like at 6 a.m. Yeah, I'm trying to do this one in prime time. See if we can get a little bit more traction for the charity drive. But it means that I have to stay way late, you know? I don't know what I'm going to do. Ready for an ambush. Yeah, entrail. No. The reek of viscera wafted from a pit where the floor had broken away. A dozen goblins lay skewered at the bottom. I'm going to give you a point there, because I think this is cleaner overall, and we were just like, you really can't get away with voided bowel, almost. Ooh, I like gutted goblins. A dozen, yeah. Huh, I like the word guts there. You could describe it as a gutted reek. A gutted reek wafted from the pit. The reek of viscera wafted from a pit where the floor had broken away. Yeah. Little Amy says, "Yo, what are you doing? We are editing a future best-selling novel here. Believe it or not." Let me see. I think most of us are chatting on YouTube there. Twitch just runs too many fucking ads. All right. The reek of viscera wafted from the pit. Yeah, how would we say this? Burback stalked forward in the low tunnel, ready for an ambush. The reek of viscera wafted from a pit where the floor had broken away. A dozen goblins lay skewered at the bottom. Burback cheated along the edge. All right, so that's all good there. Are you an Arthur? Yes, I am an Arthur. My name is Arthur Pendragon, King of Scotland. Yeah, I'm trying to win. No, I want to win a Hugo award. You know, I named my fucking dog Hugo. That's how wild I am there. Yeah, I wrote all these books. It's like tons and tons of them back here. But, yeah. Like I know a fair bit about writing and editing books. So we'll write this one. It has 60 chapters. It's about 110,000 words. And it will probably take us between 45 and 60 days to edit the entire thing. If you go on my YouTube, you can see all the other books that I've edited like this. I hope your book won an award of best-selling book. I also hope to win the of best-selling book award. That would be pretty fucking sweet. Tell you the truth. If it does, I'm buying everybody in this stream right now a Camaro. What color do you want your Camaro to be, Slaw? Maybe I'll get you a Mustang because it has a horse and it's a gayer car. All right. The yellow one. All right, cool. Yellow Camaro. You got it, buddy. But only if I win that specific award of best-selling book. All right. With a rag over his mouth. Oh, wait. Boys. We just got visited by a long dog of success. Oh, look at this sweetheart. Oh, that seals it. We're definitely going to win this guy. Oh, hello, buddy. Hello, amiga. What's happening? Say hello, Hachi. Say hello, buddy. What's up? What's up, everybody? All right, black with a rad swastika on it. All right. Yeah, with this long dog of success in my lap, we cannot fail. Say hello, buddy. Wow. What's happening? What's happening? Wow. Oh, what a sweetheart. She's a cutie. All right. I'm gonna set her free in a second here. Whoa. Love you, buddy. All right. Oh, we got 100 messages today. Yeah, so that dog is our ticket to best-selling. The dog's gonna win us the Hugo Award. Yeah, you get smooched by a long dog. It's good luck. Just FYI. All right. All right, what else do we got going on here? Yeah, then we might get visited by a golden dog of everlasting monetary wealth at some point here. I'm a believer. I'm very superstitious. All right. With a rag over his mouth, Burback moved as close as he could bear. What looked like rubble was only dead goblins. Their yellow eyes were bugged wide. In their frenzy to get away, they'd trampled each other. Burback climbed up to look past. A great mound of goblins was piled before the smashed hold-fast door. His eyes stung. He could go no further. There was no need. He knew what had happened now. When the goblins broke through, the women... let's call them dwarf women. Why don't I use the panels on my About section? Why is that? It's because I like write one book every 2 years, and I haven't touched Twitch TV in a long time. But if you just go to my website, Zach ZYZ, you can promote your books and socials via panels. Yeah, I'll do it in a little bit. Maybe I'll set that up before tomorrow's stream. I just got back into this after like literally 2 years off. But that's a good suggestion. Thank you, little Amy. All right, let me see here. Where was I? There was no need. I guess I don't know what the word for female dwarves is supposed to be. So work on them. They can probably help you. All right, I will work on them. I think that's good advice. The women broke the seals and spilled the vials. The women and children were all dead. Breakbow had a mad urge to dash forward into the holdfast and take a deep breath. He would fill his lungs with poison, lie down and be still beside the women and children he'd failed to save. There should be a comment here. He would fill his lungs with poison, lie down, and be still forever beside the women and children he'd failed to save. He turned away, so distraught he nearly blundered into the pit. As he climbed the stairs to the surface, a strange thing happened. His eyes began to adjust to the natural light, but his vision stayed gray. Outlines pulsed. Threads of black seeped in at the seams. Let me see here. Outlines pulsed and threads of black seeped in at the seams. The daggers in his hands felt burning hot, eager to be quenched in blood. The rage. Burback's body stiffened with alarm. It was a wicked thing, a terrible sin to slip into the black rage with no foe at hand. That was the Oathbreaker's way. His daggers clattered against the steps. He clutched his hands over his temples and tried to bottle the anger, breath by breath. The darkness only grew. He threw his head back and bared his teeth at the gray haze of sky above. Above the bunker, Renegir and Duandan jolted at the unearthly howl. Revenge! Tolkien calls them dwarf women. Yeah, I don't want to use dwarfus. Customize panels for you. No, little Amy, I just really don't give a shit. And you should find a better job. Like just creeping on Twitch and stuff like that. There's no kind of way to make money. Like if you want to make real money, I can teach you how to make it selling drugs. Because like going stream to stream on little streamers and like scamming them out of, I don't know, like $25 or $50 or whatever with some bullshit AI that you concoct or whatever, that's not real money. When I sell rock cocaine, I make $10,000 a day. Right? Like look at this shit. Look at this machine over here. Right? You could scam people on Twitch all day, every day, from your hovel in Mumbai, and you could not afford this glorious machine that, hold on, let me turn this fucker on. Gaze upon it. Look at it beeping and booping and stuff, right? As hard as you could possibly scam, you would never be able to activate that gizmo that I've just turned on. Look, gaze upon it in all of its fucking glory right there. Boom. So you could get a hold of this guy just by, wait, what was on this guy? See, that appeared for a second. I saw that thing. But, hold on. Let me go back to this. Let's see. Oh, CJ sent us $5 for big donkey wieners. Let's replay this guy.
Yeah. Big gay donkey wieners.
But, no, I'm just selling, well, it's not art. For one thing that you create, it's not art. Art is something you put your whole lifetime into. Not art, you know. This is you like trying to turn a buck by doing like shitty Gen AI graphic design or whatever. I'm just telling you, the real money is in drugs. Like selling drugs, extorting people with drugs, taking the possessions of the people that your drugs kill and so forth. That's where it's really at, right? And just, what you're doing is kind of regrettable, to tell you the truth. It's gauche. I wouldn't do it. But, I was young like you once too, and like doing like these little penny ante scams and so forth. And somebody had to come along and be like, hey, why are you just fucking robbing people when you can sell them drugs and they will rob people to pay you, right? So I'm just saying you don't have to rob and steal. You can just sell drugs and people will do the robbing and stealing for you. That's all. All right. Back to it. I hate that I lose the whole chat buffer also when I swap out of the fucking thing. That's weird. But yeah, let me drop some science on these little heads right here. But yeah, good luck anyhow with your scam. But real money's in drugs. Never forget. All right, so that concludes chapter 2 here. I guess I'm going to post these up on Royal Road here. And so then on 3A, we have the characters who are part of this board game club called the Lords of Misfortune. And so now you start to get into what's happening in the storyline, where you find out that all the fantasy parts are happening in little Robbie Martio's imagination, right? There's a whole fucking fantasy line that runs with this whole thing. And as he's going through this treatment, he is attending this club and seeing their games and shit like that. And his imagination is running wild because he is high on chemotherapy drugs. And we get all into like what the chemotherapy drugs are and what they do and all that good shit. So here, hold on, let me try popping. There's a restream. All right, so this is a restream chat, and then we can go back to chat. Let's see how well this is doing at the moment there. So there's this stream here, and holy shit, 10 different viewers. This is the one scam guy on Twitch, sadly, but that's pretty good for the start of this whole thing. So ideally, I would like to get this up to about 150 fucking people at some point, and we can start churning out some real money for these leukemiites and so forth. But yeah, that's the first 2 chapters. I guess it's 5:40 right now. Let's go through the 3rd chapter here, because I still got energy, and I'm gonna be up all night because I'm drinking this bullshit green tea. Let me see. I can make a lot of money selling chemotherapy drugs. Yeah, like bootleg peptides that you claim are chemotherapy drugs. This is like one of the classic ones, Big Sloth. So, all right, let's get in. So here we have the Lords of Misfortune. So these are the kids that he plays these games with. And then I've got like a little info on how we're going to do the graphic design of this whole thing here. So, image of a blackboard with little doodles and scudge marks. All right, so number 1 is Duke Vlad's Bad Moon Soon War Band, the Black Hawk Goblins. Number 2 is Chuck's Heresy Hunters, and their Imperial Inquisitors. And then number 3, Duncan's Doleful Diggers, Highland Dwarves. So number 1 and number 3 were fighting each other in the previous thing. Number 5, JC's The Bladed Ladies Slayers, Cohort of Chaos. Why do I have this here twice, by the way? Cohort of Chaos. Yeah, that's all we need there. Bill's Red Ones, Gorelord Orcs. Brian's Black Knights, Imperial Army. Sandy's Windsworn Sellswords, Rune Raiders. All right. So I had to, while we were doing this, like invent, should have used N's for his name. Nannies. Wait, which ones? Bins. Nux. I don't know which one, buddy. Instead of dwarf, I have dark elves later in the book. It was not lost on me that I could turn this into a race thing, and believe me, I do. So, yeah, give me. All right, here. Let's pop into chapter 3. So this takes place at the game store. No way. Goblins are such bullshit. Una Martillo made a sound in her throat. Duncan and Vlad looked up and found an old woman glaring at them with her hands on her hips. A young man stood beside her, his eyes locked onto the miniature battlefield. Well, the battlefield is not miniature. Yeah, we'll just call it a miniature. I guess it's a miniature battlefield. I couldn't help myself. We'll get there. Nurback Nakebo. All right. At once, Duncan turned red. Oops. Sorry, ma'am, Duncan apologized with a crooked smile. He was 16, with big ears, bad acne, and worse teeth. He wore a purple Duke Games polo shirt, with a golden crown embroidered over his name. His adversary was around the same age, but twice his size. Una's eyes narrowed at Vlad's sloppy attire. He wore ratty black jeans, a Black Sabbath t-shirt with sweat rings, stained jeans, and Birkenstocks. His oily hair was long and black. Vlad's side of the battlefield was lined with empty bottles of Pleasure Time soda and messy wrappers from vanquished hot dogs. All right, messy wrappers sounds shitty. Yeah, there we go. Greasy wrappers. All right, that's a lot that we're putting on Vlad here. But I need you to understand that these are all people that I've met IRL and chatted with on IRC. I think we had overdo it a little bit there. That's a lot of description for this character in one place. I don't think we need the sweat rings on his. Oh yeah. So stained jeans. I do like the sweat rings actually. Here, let's try it just like that. His adversary was around the same age, but twice his size. Una's eyes narrowed at Vlad's sloppy attire. He wore ratty black jeans, a Black Sabbath t-shirt with sweat rings and Birkenstocks. His oily hair was long and black. Let's check this out. Vlad's side of the battlefield was lined with empty bottles of Pleasure Time soda and greasy wrappers from vanquished hot dogs. All right, I like that. I don't think we need his hair there. So Pleasure Time soda was like a popular soda back during this time period in Albuquerque. So research. Filthy mouths, filthy minds, Una chided. Both players were silent. Satisfied, Una tutted away to look at chessboards. The older boys covered their mouths so they didn't burst out laughing. Okay, so he's not a young man. He is a boy. There we go. Although I need to make him 13 in the story and not 12, because 12 is too young for some of the shit that he does later on. It's only legal if he's 13. I'm talking about smoking crack rock, by the way, not weird sex shit. There is no sex shit in this book whatsoever in any of the whatever. So I just want to make that clear for any of the cuties crowd that may be listening in. There's no, well, almost no fucking. Do people eat while playing board games at those gaming places? I've never been to one. Yes, they fucking, especially at like board game stores where they play Magic the Gathering and shit. They just snarf down fucking candy bars and Doritos and fucking Takis and milkshakes, and they just eat constantly. And they might as well just have like a trough beside every table. Now, some people are only, no, we use card protectors so I protect my investment and shit like that. But most of these places, like fat dudes with gigantic ass crack, are just shoveling down hot wings or whatever they can get their greasy mitts on the entire time that you're playing. Because board games are like sports, right? By themselves, you know, it's a fucking game. It's fun to use your mind and shit like that. But really, they're an excuse to get together with people and do drugs and eat food, just like sports. But it's sports for people who have too much ADD to watch regular sports, is how I would describe it. There we go. I know all about this particular area. Let me see. So where were we? Both players were silent. Satisfied, Una tutted away to look at chessboards. The older boys covered their mouths so they didn't burst out laughing. Robin was still rooted in place, gawking at the battlefield. The body aches were coming on, and he had a kind of drifting feeling, like he wasn't completely tied to any of this. The tiny scale and sprawling complexity gave him a feverish sense of almost real. Every angle seemed to tell a different story. What broke through the stockade? Had those wiped out defenders fled in terror from the goblin horde, or had they stood their ground to the last dwarf? Guess by guess, he could feel a grand narrative taking shape. He wished he had his journal. I really should. Well, so his journal is like a huge part of the story. Let me just make a note here. Why should he wish he has as the journal instead of just why shouldn't he just fucking whip it out? All right, I'm taking out this other thing. So I think he wished he had his journal here so that we don't have to do the narrative weight of like introducing. He just has like one of those composition books, like this fucking guy right here. You know, he's got one of these floating that he writes down all of his thoughts and dreams and stuff, like the basketball diaries, except he never pisses on it. All right. He wished he had his journal. The table was huge, 4 by 8 and covered with mottled terrain. There were hills made of styrofoam with sawdust flocking, toothpick ramparts, and a savage stockade of splintered balsa wood and glued together pebbles. Painted figurines were turned on their sides all over the board. By the accumulation of candy wrappers, the tiny war must have raged for hours. "What game is that?" Robin dared to ask. "Lords of Rapazoras. It's not for kids," Vlad answered, quick and dismissive. "Don't listen to him. LOR is recommended for ages 12 and up." Yeah. Yeah, let's do 14 and up. There we go. So that fixes the table description next sounds weird. All right, well, let's look at it. The table was huge. The table was a 4 by 8 sheet of plywood. Yeah. The table was a 4 by 8 sheet of plywood covered with fake grass and mottled terrain. There were hills made of styrofoam with sawdust flocking, toothpick ramparts, and a Okay, cool. The table was a 4 by 8 sheet of plywood covered with fake grass and mottled terrain. So a little of this shit too, we get into like the specifics of like the modeling hobby and so forth. So some of it's going to sound a little weird if you don't fuck around with like model trains and totally heterosexual shit like that, sloth. But it still needs to like track, right? And like for somebody to just be able to look at it and feel something evocative. The table was a 4 by 8 sheet of plywood covered with fake grass. Yeah, I see what you're saying here. The table was a 4x8 sheet of plywood covered with fake grass flocking. There were hills made of carved styrofoam, toothpick ramparts, and a stockade made of splintered balsa wood and glued together pebbles. All right. Let's take out the pebbles part. And a stockade made of splintered balsa wood. Painted figurines were turned on their sides all over the board. By the accumulation of candy wrappers, the tiny war must have raged for hours. All right. So hopefully that's like a slight improvement there. I'm going to give you a point for it, Sloth. It's like any clunky piece of description or whatever, somebody just stops reading. What game is that? Robin dared to ask. Lords of Rapasaurus. It's not forever. So we went through this. Don't listen to him. LOR is recommended for ages 14 and up. It's an awesome hobby, Duncan chimed in. Yeah, okay. Now you can visualize a little bit better. Yeah, that's super valuable. Yeah, I guess the thing that most people might know is not like the word flocking or whatever, but once I say that it's sawdust flocking, somebody will just figure out. Wait, fake grass flocking? They can figure out that flocking is whatever. There you go. I like it better. It's much cleaner. Lords of Rapasaurus. Wait, how does Vlad talk? Lords of Rapasaurus. It's not for kids. That doesn't sound right. Lords of Rapasaurus. It's not for kids. No, I can't do that accent. Vlad answered, quick and dismissive. Don't listen to him. LOR is recommended for ages 14 and up. It's an awesome hobby, Duncan chimed in. He's not really chiming in. So, yeah. So one of the things that people are always telling you to do with edits is like remove dialogue tags. Right? Oh. Yeah, a lot of this shit is in Rapasaurus and the other books. It ties into all the other fantasy books that I've written. But it happens during a different era. I love Rapasaurus. I really need to finish that book. But everybody's trying to get me to finish Arcanist first. All right. Don't listen to him. LOR is recommended for ages 14 and up. It's an awesome hobby, Duncan said. I'll be 13 in a month, Robin said. Oh, yeah, that's why. Robin argued. I'll be 13 in a month. Well, how much emotion do we want to try to convey with our dialogue tags here? Yeah, let's just set is fine. I don't want him to be like, I'll be 13 in a month. I'll be 13 in a month, Robin said. That's fine. The age rating is just a suggestion anyway. We have a new player round every Saturday morning. Yeah, let's... We have a new player orientation the first Saturday of every month. The rules aren't that complicated. You should come. Robin eyed the pile of rule books. Some were thicker than his textbooks. He gawked at the figurines as Duncan and Vlad broke up the battle. There were standard bearers, captains, wolf cavalry, siege weapons. All right, so this should probably be broken up into two sentences, really. There were standard bearers, captains, wolf cavalry, siege weapons, all painted in incredible detail. He watched the careful way the older boys handled each piece as they packed up their armies. He watched the careful way the older boys handled each soldier as they packed up their armies. They had black flags. They had black plastic flight cases with foam cutouts for each figurine. And yes, nerds actually do this, Sloth, and did do this way back in the day. Maybe like in the early days, they were just all thrown together in a fucking shoebox or something. But yeah, they'll really like make a case with like a cutout for every one of their soldiers in the little Games Workshop-y like Warhammer type stuff. Yeah, this game rips off the aesthetic of Warhammer pretty hardcore. Specifically, their magazine White Dwarf, which I used to read when I was a kid, which I thought was pretty awesome. But I don't think I infringe on any of their shit. It definitely borrows the aesthetic, but I've gone through and rewritten everything. And to be fair, they were just ripping off Tolkien anyway, so fuck them. All right, let me see here. That better not get played back to me in court, by the way. This is an original work. I'm not infringing on their bullshit. Do not sue me. I have a gun. Anyhow, not just one, by the way. Many guns. He watched the careful way the older boys handled each soldier as they packed up their armies. They had black plastic flight cases with foam cutouts for each figurine. Did they come like that? Robin asked, pointing at a unit of brightly colored berserkers. Their faces and arms were painted with wicked scars and interlocking tattoos. With jagged scars and interlocking tattoos. No, and that's half the fun. You get to put them together and paint them any way you like, Duncan gushed. Oh, gushed is too much. Duncan explained. We sell starter packs. You get 500 points of troops, the lore tome, and the basic rulebook. I would avoid the dwarves for your first army, though. They're a little weak this season. There we go. I would avoid dwarves for your first army, though. They're a little weak this season. The dwarves are fine. It's their leader that's weak, Vlad jabbed. The game does have a strong element of random chance. My general was unfortunately... The game does have a strong element of random chance. My general was slain in the first round, Duncan rued. Speaking of which, hand him over. Vlad thrust his palm over the table. Let me slide, Vlad. So let me slide. I try not to go crazy with like the slang from the 70s, but there is some of it that I've worked into this. I'm just trying to make it feel kind of authentic. And let me slide was some shit that nerds would say back in the day. Let me slide, Vlad. Goblins are so overpowered right now, man. The paint's barely dry on Gothar. I didn't even get to use his ultimate. No, we're not going to go full Scooby-Doo on this. Let me slide, Vlad. Goblins are so overpowered right now. The paint is barely dry on Gorthar. I didn't even get to use his ultimate. No mercy for dwarven scum. You lost. Cough up Gorthar. Duncan had hidden his general behind a wall of spent Mountain Dew cans. Yeah. Here, I don't need to... Yeah. Duncan had hidden his general behind a... Yeah. Here. Yeah, if we just cut that down, it works a lot better. Duncan had hidden Gorthar behind a wall of spent Mountain Dew cans. With a sigh, he handed the general over. The figurine was incredibly detailed. Gorthar's multicolored robe was trimmed in golden runes, and his staff had a silver ram's head with tiny sapphire eyes. Duncan must have spent days painting it. You have to give up your general if you lose? Robin asked. Just if they die in battle. We say they're captured. You can either ransom your general back with others you capture, or they're returned to you at the end of the campaign. This isn't part of the official game, by the way. It's a house rule for our campaign. But what's a campaign? So, our game club is called the Lords of Misfortune. It's really cool and free to join. It's really cool. All the games we play are like individual chapters in a much larger book. We record all the results, and they impact what happens next in the war that will run all summer long. The winner of the campaign wins a prize, and the rest of us have to call them Duke until somebody else wins, Duncan explained. Which will never happen. Vlad raised his scruffy chin proudly at the chalkboard at the far. Ah. Here we go. Which will never happen. Vlad raised his scruffy chin proudly at the chalkboard next to a giant map. Under a scroll marquee that read the Lords of Misfortune, there was a list of 8 armies. Duke Vlad was in first place. Duncan was in third. Wow, so cool, Robin breathed. Check out my trophy haul, Vlad said. It seemed like he was warming up now that he realized Robin wasn't going to make fun of them. Let's say him. It seemed like he was warming up now that he realized Robin wasn't going to make fun of him. Vlad popped open a smaller flight case that contained all the generals he'd captured. There's a twin-tailed lizard king with a feather headdress, an elf queen with 3 arrows nocked in her bow, and a knight in crimson armor with a bloody sword and some sort of bloated half-man, half-spider. Oh, this is too much. There was a twin-tailed lizard king with a feather headdress, an elf queen with 3 arrows nocked in her bow, and a knight in crimson armor with a bloody sword. That's my Silverwind, Duncan pointed to the elf. Vlad wiped out my Everglade brigade early in the campaign, so I swapped to these Highland dwarves. If the battle went my way, I could have won her back. No such luck. It isn't just luck. Vlad folded his arms across his chest. Yeah, that's not a dialogue tag. You rolled 4 6s in a row. I failed all 3 saves. Well, you misplayed the scenario. You let your footmen get bogged down in the barley. By the time your berserkers got going, it was all over. Should have sacrificed your shield bearers and rushed the stockade. Alright, so these unit names should not be italicized. Okay. Yeah, they're just capitalized. They are not italicized. You should have sacrificed your shield bearers and rushed the stockade. It was hard to get a charge going when your archers get 4 6s. The older boys seem like they might bicker all night. How much does it cost to get started playing? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Look what... Hachi. Hachi. Come here, buddy. Oh, come here, dog. Hachi. Over here. Alright, I gotta rub this dog's belly. It's the law. Oh, she's so cute. Oh. You want up? You want up? Okay. Okay. What's up, sweetie? Hello. Yeah, every once in a while she gets bored and just comes down here to get petted. She's a sweetie. Say hello, buddy. Say hello. What? Oh, fuck. Hey! Hey! I'm about to get Carmelo'd, I guess. Fuck. Yes. Probably shouldn't have said that if I want to win this award. Anyhow. Let's see. How much does a starter army cost? Robin interrupted. Duncan's attention snapped back to Robin. How much does a starter army cost? Robin interrupted. Duncan's attention snapped back to him. Just $9.99. Comes with everything you need, paint, primer, and brushes. Plus, we're running a special. You get a free champion figure of your choice to lead your troops to glory. Oh, Robin said. He turned around and found Una was watching him from the aisle. He knew better than to ask. He took a last look at the battlefield. Thank you. Robin left Duncan and Vlad to go find his abuela. They began to squabble again at once. Oh, I think... Okay. So, abuela's common knowledge here, but because we're translating so much other Spanish, and this is the first time we introduce the word abuela in the text, we have to have a parenthetical translation. Though, like I said, I don't know if those will make it into the final. Hopefully so. Robin left Duncan and Vlad to go find his abuela. They began to squabble again at once. Your grandfather would have loved this place, Una said. She pointed at a model bomber that hung from a strand of fishing wire. See this B-29? The Stupor Fortress. We lost twice as many to engine problems as we did to the Japanese. For every 10 we sent, 1 never returned. God was looking out for your grandfather. Huh. Did you ever fly that one? Robin steered the conversation away from Grandpa Hector. Every time Una got on that track, she got sad and lectured him about Jesus all evening. Huh. Did you ever fly in one? Then we... yeah, that just tracks a little better. Every time Una got on that track, she got sad and lectured him about Jesus all evening. No, but some of the WAFs did. In 44, a lot of pilots didn't want to fly in these because the engines would blow up. So they sent 2 women up as test pilots to shame the men. It worked. Robin looked up at the plane. 1 in 10. He felt a little lightheaded. Everything from the game was still so vivid in his mind. He was pretty sure he had a fever. Una noticed at once. At once. Do you feel all right? Let me know if you need the bathroom before we go home. I'm all right, Robin said quickly. He looked back over his shoulder, afraid the older boys would hear Tata babying him. Hello, can we get some service, please? Una called out from the counter. Tucked under her arm was a battered yellow box. Duncan hurried over. Una had found the cheapest set in the store. Chess set. Una had found the cheapest chess set in the store. A used Milton Bradley chess, checkers, and AC-doocy backgammon set. Robin hoped she wouldn't haggle, but she did. She brought up how light the pieces were, how beat up the box was, and took out all the pieces on the counter to make sure the set was intact. Duncan played along and ultimately let her have it for $1. Una strutted out of the store with a chessboard, beaming with pride. For the second time that day, Robin felt like he was dying. For the second time that day, Robin felt like he was dying, this time of shame. He saw Duncan smirk as he left. Robin was sure he'd surrendered just to get rid of her. Every single time. Una always butted in everywhere and ruined everything. She just couldn't act normal. No way he could... Yeah. I really feel like there should be a comma there, although I know that I had a comma and the proofreader took it out. I'm putting it back anyway, and the proofreader will take it out yet again. Circle of life. Una always butted in everywhere and ruined everything. She just couldn't act normal. There was no way he could show his... Yeah. There was no way Robin could show his face in the game store again. It was just as well, because he couldn't afford to play anyway. A bad headache loomed. Robin wanted to go home and disappear into his room with a rag over his eyes. He winced when the car slowed and they weren't close to home. Una pulled the Falcon into the Piggly Wiggly parking lot and circled for 10 minutes, looking for a closer space. We're out of eggs. You want to come in? It's cool inside. Yeah. We're out of eggs. Want to come in? It's cool inside. All right, there we go. Can I stay here, Tita? I don't want to look at food right now. I'll be quick, Una frowned. As soon as she left, Robin wished he'd gone in with her. As soon as she left, Robin wished he'd gone inside with her. The day was fading, but the heat remained. Una always took forever. Bored, he hunted in the game box for the rule book. It was there, but there was a surprise as well. Black Labyrinth, the Lords of Rapazora's Quarterly Supplement, issue 28, spring 1979, $1.99. The magazine had a wild-looking dwarf with a giant axe on the cover, surrounded by flames and frenzied goblins. Robin was sure it wasn't in the box when Una checked the pieces. Duncan must have slipped it inside. He flipped through the pages and found the rules for the Doom of Dagbell O'Dell scenario they'd been playing in the store. The magazine was full of art, lore, painting tips, and campaign reports. There were maps, charts, and 2-page spreads of battles with hundreds of miniatures. The last quarter of the magazine... Oh, here, this is a paragraph break. The last quarter of the magazine was a catalog of all the figures in a mail-in order form. At the very end, the inside back cover had photos of different game clubs all over the world. At once, Robin recognized the War Room from Duke Games. Far cleaner... It was far cleaner in the picture. A group of smiling boys gathered around the table where three trophies were placed. Club highlight, Duke Games, Albuquerque, New Mexico, USA. The Lords of Misfortune. Winner, Argent Gargoyle Grand Prize, 1978, Sandy Amsler, Battle Diorama, The Slayers and the Lizard Queen's Lair. Winner, second place, 1978 U.S. National Championship, Vladimir Rozanov, The Burned Betrayers, Chaos Cavalry. Winner, 1976 Marvelous Merchant Store Excellence Award, Duke Games, The Schweizer Family. The game club was in the magazine. Apparently, the little hobby shop next to the ice cream place was famous, and the huge metalhead in the hippie sandals was almost a national champion. No wonder he'd won. Robin was so engrossed he didn't even notice Una approach until she threw up the rear hatch and stowed 2 bags. Robin was so engrossed he didn't even notice Una approach. Wow, that completely rhymes. Robin was so engrossed he didn't even notice Una approach. Robin was so engrossed in Black Labyrinth he didn't even notice Una approach. Yeah. Robin was so engrossed in Black Labyrinth he didn't even notice Una until she threw open... He didn't even notice Una until she threw open the Falcon's rear hatch. She stowed 2 grabs... Is it really a trunk? It's like the hatchback of a station wagon? Robin was so engrossed in Black Labyrinth, he didn't even notice Una until she threw open the Falcon's rear hatch. She stowed 2 bags of groceries in the back. Her walk to the driver's seat was wobbly and awkward. Robin felt guilty. He should have gone into the store to carry the bags for Una. This is a good spot to establish. That's like a tiny little aside there, but I want to establish that like the character is not a complete piece of shit. He's not like a woe is me orphan. He like feels like he should be helping somebody out there, and just like he's our protagonist and so forth. So we want to show some elements of good at the beginning, so that he's not, but not too much. We don't want him to be fucking Harry Potter over here or whatever. Anyhow, let's see. Sorry, I ran into Florence. Sorry, I ran into Florence. She wouldn't shut up about her dog. I don't know who yaps more. Wait, what is that? Did you take that without paying? Una's eyes locked onto the magazine. No, I wouldn't. It was in the box, Robin said quickly. He could feel Una mustering her wrath. I think the game store guy put it in because I was interested in the game. It's free. Give it to me, Una commanded. Robin handed... Robin handed the magazine over. Una thumbed through the pages while he sweated in the passenger seat. Her eyes furrowed deeper and deeper. Her eyebrows furrowed deeper and deeper. It was only now, with his grandmother scanning through the pages, that Robin noticed how the elven women in the advertisements were half covered by scraps of chainmail. Elven women in the advertisements were half covered by scraps of chainmail. The whole Chaos Summoner's spread was a crimson mess of horned demons frolicking in an orgy of sundered limbs and severed heads. The real scowl when she got to the real scowl came when she got to the mail order part, and shook her head from side to side. Let's make it Una there. Una shook her head from side to side and tutted. The prices seemed to offend her far worse than all the gore and occult stuff. Robin's heart sank. He was sure this was the last time he'd ever... Robin's heart sank. Yeah, that's just one thing. He was sure this was the last time he'd ever... He was sure this was the last he'd ever see of Black Labyrinth magazine. Una closed the... Here we go. Saving it for the spank bank? Oh, yeah. Jesus, Slaw. The crimson mess of horned demons frolicking in an orgy of sundered limbs and severed heads. The real scowl came when she got to the mail order part. All right, there we go. Robin's heart sank. He was sure this was the last he'd ever see of Black Labyrinth. Una closed the magazine, flipped it back to the cover, and tapped on the price. There should be a comma there. I noticed, like, while doing, like, the proofreading pass, is that, like, the machine tends to take out the fucking, this Oxford comma on a lot of these things there, but it is wrong. And this should be either. Una closed the magazine, flipped it back to the cover, and tapped on the price. $1.99 in the top left corner. This isn't free. It's bait, Una said. With a sigh, she handed the magazine back. Robin could barely believe his luck. He forgot all about his headache and dove back into the pages of Black Labyrinth. His eyes didn't come up until the Falcon stopped at the little pink adobe house at the end of Telesfor Sanchez Road. Oh, shit. Oh, look. It's fucking Kuntz up there. My grandfather was a P-38 light team pilot in World War II when he passed away this week. R.I.P. Major Huge Jacock. And thank you, bless you for your service. Wow. And we're on a... There's actually a P-38 in this story. And I think it's like the night version of it there. Like the P-38M or whatever. Yeah, we get into like the air battle on the Pacific a little bit later there. All right. Well, that is 3 chapters that we have done edited here. And thank you to everybody who participated in this. So later I'll like post these up in Royal Road, and I have a few more gimmicks that I'm going to work into the story as we go along. So I have here Somebody sent me this guy as a gift, knowing that I was going to embark on this stream, which I've been talking about doing for like a year. This is a list of all the Hugo winners, volumes 1 and 2, and this is from like 1961 to like 1970, maybe. By the man Kelly Johnson. God damn. Is bait odds for... No, because like it works in the 1970s, right? Because they're fuck, is that actually true? Hold on. Yeah, I honestly, like, I don't think that's an anachronism, Agatha. I don't think... I think we can get away with it because like fishing is as old as time, right? Everybody understands. And the other part of it too is like in 1979 too, it's where people were really starting to get tired of some of the consumerism shit that had heavily pervaded in the early 60s and so forth. So I'm with it. I think bait will work there. And I don't know what else we could use there that could as succinctly get across what I want to get across. But yeah, it is essentially a trap to lure in teenage boys. Much like Tron's fucking van. All right, but that's it. So that's what we're gonna do. So anyhow, every night I'm gonna be reading one of these Hugo winners. So I just read yesterday this first one, The Darf Seller. Here, it has by Walter M. Miller Jr. So they call it the Darf Stellar, but I'm pretty sure that this guy is fucking wrong, and it's Darfseller, or in German, or Darsteller, or something like that. It just means actor, not actor, but portrayer in German. So I'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow. Yeah, like I honestly, like, it's good to pick for these anachronisms because bait currently is a meme word, but before it became a meme word, I think everybody was like the concept of bait is a pretty old one, so I think we can get away with it. All right, well, I hope you all enjoyed. So our final count here is Sloth with 3 edits, Agatha with 2, and just a reminder, at the end of this shit, I do give a prize for whoever has the most of these things. Hold on, let me drop this into my Dropbox. So it actually, Dorfseller. Yeah. It gets into the distinction between like a Dorfseller and a Schauspieler, which is like an actual professional actor or whatever there. I'll get into the story a little bit later and tell you about it. But yeah, my review is no bueno. So I wouldn't seek it out to read it, but it does have some interesting stuff about it that I will talk about tomorrow. I started fishing in 1988 with my grandfather and father, and bait existed then for nightworms. All right, thank you both for getting in on this. Yeah, sorry it took me so long to get this stream going, but honest to God, I think this is a good story. I think as we get into this shit, I think you will see that it is both heartwarming and fantastical, and at the same time gritty and dark and powerful and moving and all the other shit that you say when you want somebody to give you a fucking award for your book. So hopefully we can sell this one. Sloth, thank you so much for donating to the Leukemia Research Foundation. Everybody else who did this, reminder, like all the tips and shit that I get during this bit, I will post back into this charity, and I dare not steal the money. So that's actually going to happen. Let's see, and let me refresh the cache of the current page. Cool, so we're sitting at a cool $110. We're almost to our goal. Hell yeah. All right, let me get out of here.